Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the NPC Markets Morning Call. Apologies for for the delay. A bit of technical issues this morning, but look, and probably just um, feeling a little bit chipper and good about myself after all these software stocks have just shot the lights out, and particularly in the last sort of month or two. So we had Nvidia up. There was basically there was an announcement between them and ARM Holdings on CPUs. Jensen spoke in Taiwan. Every time he speaks, the market goes pretty well. But the real sector we're obviously looking at broadly is if you look in the middle there near Microsoft, is that software sector. So this is the software sector over the course of the last month. Look, I mean, there's some fringe ones that probably don't make a lot of sense, like Netflix, Oracle, and things like that. But I mean, they will to a certain extent. But you've got even the likes of ServiceNow up 50%, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike up 65 and 72%, AppLovin up 35%, Oracle up 50%. Datadog's up 100%. And even Salesforce, after like a fairly disappointing result, is up around about 15. And Microsoft's on the comeback trail as well. So, the reports of software being dead, obviously have been largely exaggerated. And I think that was the best month for this, the software ETF in. Well, I think it was since early 2021, essentially. We saw a really good day here yesterday for the software stocks. WiseTech, Technology One, Life360, all those guys up around about 9 or 10%. SiteMinder as well. I think Technology One's been very resilient. It's probably up 30% since the lows back in March. I think there's still some massive laggards here in the Aussie market. The likes of WiseTech, the likes of Pro Medicus, etc. I think are they haven't even started getting warmed up yet, to be brutally honest. And I would expect them to head significantly higher if this run continues. But yeah, look. And all this was based around, Claude was going to take over, yada, yada, yada. And we did a Software Survivors webinar on the 19th of March. And we are going to do a part 2 of that to give you a bit of an update, maybe next week or the week after. But the ones we recognise with moats, we're just doing the initial prep yesterday, have actually performed pretty well. Overall, compared to the ones we thought that didn't have moats. So I think we'll have, obviously the Russell was the only one that was down last night. We're on a massive hot streak in the US at the moment. It's looking at possibly a little bit precarious and dangerous. The on again, off again crap with Trump is just, and Iran. Like, there's nothing really that has at all confirmed that there's anything going on between the two. But the market the US press just keeps repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. We're looking at gas prices across the US over the summer driving season averaging $4.80 or above, which, to give you some context, well, it's a disaster, basically. It's like $1.80 worse. So, all of this stuff's going to come home to roost pretty poorly, I would imagine, in the coming months. And we did have a number for PCE as well, not PCE, ISM manufacturing, and prices paid jumped to its highest level in God knows how long. I think prices paid was around about the 60 mark in the index. It is now at 82, and we've sort of spent the last 2 or 3 years around 55, and we are at 82. So that inflation is just going to we've got payrolls on Friday night. I don't know when. Look, I don't know when this thing's going to be. Is going to wake up to itself, but. We've had some software on, we've had some chip stocks on, etc. We're very much looking to take some profits and sit on some cash for a little bit. So, but look, this is a rare streak in the S&P 500. We're in our 10th week of consecutive gains. We are on an 8 consecutive day positive day streak. Both of them simultaneously, 0 historical precedent in the last 20 years, and then and essentially, the next couple of weeks will probably be, as you can sort of see here, largely unchanged. Generally, if we do have like one of these 8-week streaks or 10-week streaks or whatever, we're either flat to there's no significant movement necessarily either way. So, but there's a distinct lack of data, I've got to say, and but we're probably in for sideways to being a little bit, concerned to the downside, I would imagine. And, as you can sort of see here on the left-hand side as well, 1 week forward, when there's an 8-day winning streak, is fairly flat yet again. 2 weeks forward is actually a little bit more positive, and then 3 weeks forward is pretty positive as well. So, on average. So, but look, as I say, very little historical precedent on this sort of streak, and with with the market being very momentum driven these days, I wouldn't be surprised to see sort of sideways, but be pretty good time to be reviewing and getting out of some of your holdings and things like that. Payrolls will be the big dog. We've got Palo Alto on Wednesday. Tomorrow, and then CrowdStrike on Thursday. I'm assuming they'll be after the bell. They will be by the looks. And we've got GDP here in Australia tomorrow. So yeah, we're probably looking for fairly quiet numbers while we have this, while we have these inflation numbers and economic numbers start to pile in, and people start to realise that we're it's pretty unlikely it's going to continue. So, but yeah, the webinar, Software Survivors, Part 2 or 2.0, that's probably a much better headline now that I come to think of it, will be sometime in the next couple of weeks. We'll give a bit of an update. We're in the process of updating our survivors and victims heat map. So you can go to the website. I'll provide a link tomorrow. But yeah, overall, not expecting a huge amount out of the market today. Have a great day, people, and we will speak again tomorrow.